First, I'm going to be going over all the content creators in Star Wars: The Old Republic that are currently active, that I know of. There might be more, I just don't have them listed. And then we're actually going to be talking to 2 podcasters, and they're going to give us a little interview about how to start your own podcast, or if that's something you are ever interested in, because there is so much more room in the SOTOR content creation community. As far as I can tell, the people who like to make things are all really supportive of each other. They're all like... much like Spaceling said, even when they're directly competing, it doesn't really seem to matter too much. So I'm going to talk first about what is there out there to go enjoy. So there's obviously my channel, my website, blah 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 blah. So over it. We're going to be checking out stuff other people have made now. So we are going to start off with, look, I made like a slideshow. I figured out how. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is podcasts. So what is a podcast? A podcast is like a radio show. It's usually purely audio. Some casts like to also record it on Twitch, but basically the big part is talking about the game and talking about it to other players, sharing news, sharing opinions, sharing topics of interest, stuff like that. And out of between video and podcasting has a much lower barrier to entry. So I really love that so many different types of players have gotten into it. There's players who do operations, there's players who run guilds, there's players who play almost mostly solo, story players, whatever. If it's something that if SOTOR is something you want to talk about, and as long as you have a decent microphone and you have some basic editing skills, which you can learn pretty fast. Like that was one of the easiest steps when I was getting into editing all these millions of things that I make. You can make a podcast and you can share your opinion about Star Wars: The Old Republic, and people will listen to it while they're driving for their hour-long commute in the car. So right now there's about 5 active podcasts, and some of them kind of come in and out over time because none of them are run as a full-time job. They're all a hobby, much like I'm doing right now. So the first one I wanted to talk about is Ootinicast, and this is actually how the Academy got started. So the Ootinicast is the longest running Star Wars: The Old Republic podcast, and the one that first got me into listening to podcasts. And I was listening to them one day, and they said, a player had written in, "You guys are veteran players, you mostly talk about endgame stuff and news and stuff. Will you ever have anything for newer players?" And I was like, oh, I could do that. I can write basic segments or come talk about new player stuff because I love sharing that. I love sharing these how to get into things. Dekion's on here. Dekion's in chat, and he's often on Ootinicast as well, and in their guild. So Ootinicast is the first one I'd want to share, and these are things that you can listen to at your own pace. Most of them come out weekly, give or take, and you can just jump in at any point. You don't have to. You do not have to go back to episode 1. This is not like a TV series or something like that. Jump into the current one, especially because the newer ones are often better than the ones when they were first starting. And second off, it'll be talking about current events of the game, and they might be able to give you tips and tricks about what's going on right now. And then what I usually do is I go back a few episodes too, until I'm sick of listening to them. So second podcast on a shop is the Escape Podcast, and this one has a very different feel than the other podcasts because it's actually based on their guild, Illeva Acta Est and the Illeva Acta Timor, I think. And you'll probably see their guild around on the server that they're on because they're quite a large guild and very community focused. So they started this podcast as a way to talk to their guild, as share news, as well as to talk to other people about their guild. So you'll often hear about guild events, which is really cool, especially if you're a solo player and you don't really get into those type of things. You get to hear firsthand from people sharing what they love with their guild. And they also have a guild you can join. Same with Ootinicast. Next up is the State of the Old Republic podcast, and a complete departure from Escape Podcast, which is 100% not necessarily group focused, but community focused, like not just operations. They do like solo stuff together too. State of the Old Republic is just Ted, and Ted talks about what is going on in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and very, very single person talking. It's very neat. It's very interesting because the other podcasts are a dialogue between 2 other players, versus Ted can talk on his own, so he has a lot more time to compose himself and really deliver the information clearly. Next up is Working Class Nerds, and these guys cover both SWTOR as well as other stuff that's going on, and this is run mostly by 2 to 3 players depending on the day, and they're probably one of the newest ones, I think, and they were there with us with Celebration as well. And lastly is The Usual Podcast. They have been playing less SWTOR recently, but they like to cover SWTOR in the past as well as lots of pop culture, and we'll actually be talking to them coming up on the stream very soon here. So those are basically the 5 active SWTOR-ish podcasts that are running right now. So if you want podcasts, here, follow the links on the screen. They've got all their basically easiest ways to go to their websites, and then you could, if you have a preferred way you like to listen to podcasts, they'll usually have that listed there, like iTunes or whatever else. I usually just go to the website and press play because that's easiest for me. And a lot of players like to listen to podcasts while they're playing SWTOR, much like some of you like to play SWTOR while you're listening to a stream, especially because the podcasts don't have any visuals, unlike streams. Like I'm showing something right now, you can't go run a heroic while you're watching this, or you can. I see you. Podcasts are perfect for listening in the background, unless people listen to them on their commute or just while they're chilling out kind of way. So next up, we will talk about blogs. So blogging is almost like a lost art these days. When I first got into creating content, blogging was the way you shared it. Being able to record videos was like almost impossible at the time. Like, your computer couldn't handle it, your internet couldn't handle uploading it, most people's internet couldn't handle watching it, so it was like, what's the point? Podcasting would be a similar way. I don't know if podcasting was just not popular then, because it had a much lower download time, that's for sure. But it was all about the blogs and the fan sites. So these are some of the current blogs that are still running by other SWTOR players, and what I really like about them is they give, unlike a fan site, kind of like my site, is I don't really talk about a ton of my opinions or experiences in the game. Like sometimes you'll catch me streaming in the morning and I will there, but most of the stuff I put out is guides. It's just like, here's how to go get into this, but it's not really talking about how I necessarily feel about it or how I interact with it, or like how did my Flashpoint fun go today. It's like, here's how to start a Flashpoint, beep boop boop. But blogs really are the opposite of that. Sometimes they'll have guides, but for the most part what they're doing is presenting, here's what I did today, here's how I enjoyed the game today, here's what happened, and it's a really nice way to connect with bloggers while connect with other SWTOR players while being able to read instead of listen like a podcast. So my first blog I'm going to talk about is called Going Commando. You've got the link right there, and that is run by SWTOR, and that one is just a huge mix of whatever SWTOR gets up to with the latest update drama. I really like SWTOR shares a lot about them going into Flashpoints and what her experience is in them, good or bad. So very interesting to me, because I just kind of, when I run in Flashpoints, I just like, I go in and go out where I'm running with friends, and I don't really stop to think about it, and SWTOR really does reflect on how her experiences were, and lots of other stuff like Conquest, interesting stuff that they came across that day, all kinds of stuff. Next up is Galactic Antics, and that one is very similar in that Calthea's experiences of the day and what they're thinking about and like what they feel about the newest updates, stuff like that. A lot of them do have interest in story as well, so you'll see a lot of that on there as well. Next up is This Week in Aurabesh, and we actually had Intisar on our operations group today, and so we actually had SWTOR too from Going Commando. It was a blog heavy day, what can I say? This Week in Aurabesh, they have a really neat blog. As you can see, there's a little baby Yoda picture on the screen right now, and they designed that. So one of their staple type of posts is they take a existing Aurabesh sign from the game and they translate it and make a Photoshop in English. But they also, once again, they post about their experiences in SWTOR and what they're enjoying and what they're not, and what they're checking out today. And lastly is Fibrojedi, and this is the one that leans most heavily towards guide territory. It's a good mix of of Fibrojedi's experiences as well as guides, and this one is quite unique as Fibrojedi has fibromyalgia, so it has his unique flavor of how was this difficult for me today, like what are these things I'm encountering that normal players don't encounter. And I also really love his guides. Like I try to make my guides so newbie friendly, but his are like 10 times friendlier. He doesn't make very many, but the ones he has, like right now the Rackle event is running, I think, and his Rackle event guide is so good I almost don't even want to write file. Like I've just been telling everybody like go check out Fibrojedi's blog. Oh hey Intisar, I didn't realize you were still in here. Hey! And so I wasn't quite sure how to do I did it. I disappeared, everybody. I wasn't quite sure how to talk about streamers and stuff like that, so I decided to kind of compile a list, and instead of posting them here, because they don't have like, also don't have like a logo, or it doesn't mean quite as much. So here's one. I'm so proud I learned how to Twitch for this, just for you guys. Look what I installed Nightbot and everything. There's a ton of streamers streaming Star Wars The Old Republic, and the hard part about streaming compared to, say, videos or blogs or podcasts is you can't just jump in at any time. The main part of streaming is that you're there live, you're watching live like you are right now. That's the part that people enjoy. Otherwise, like, it's just a unedited video. So let me go over real quick some of the streamers that are active. The basic idea of what I'm suggesting is if you want more SOTOR content, right-click the link and open it in a new window and follow them, and then you can see when they come online. If they're streaming SOTOR, you can watch them, or if they're not, well, you can decide what you're doing. You're big kids. So here's some of the players. There's Illeva, who was in Flashpoint with us earlier. There's Kid Lee, who's been doing a lot of variety lately, but used to cover SOTOR videos. There's KogASS, who is with us in PvP earlier today, and that's what he covers, PvP and ranked PvP. There's LadyRann, who does a lot of story content and all other types of content like ops too. Aviriia, who is with us in the Flashpoint, and we'll see if she starts role-playing on stream. We'll see if she can find out if that's something that she likes or not. But she streams just all kinds of content too. Vemapris, same thing, lots of different stuff. Jmusselman, same thing again, variety streamer. Nami Gal as well. PeterTheSelkath, you'll see him in operations a lot. He's getting better at being less angry at his team. Taelios is very, very chill streamer. If I remember right, you'll see him in PvP a lot, yeah. thatducksauce, same thing, variety streamer. Dr. SOTOR, who is now going by Dr. Gameology, I think is often streaming operations, and that's like been his thing. If you want to watch operations, I highly recommend that. Cease is a PvPer. They share a lot of knowledge about PvP, so if you want to hear someone talk very knowledgeably about the classes and PvP, that's a really, really cool channel to check out. We've got Drevina, who actually helped plan a ton of the stuff in here. So Drevina, he helped me with the handing out the emotes as well as getting the ops group together, so that was awesome. And Drevina's just like always got my back. Let's see, where did I get in the list? We've got Chill at ChillsRoom on Twitch, and Chill is as his name suggests, is very, very quiet streamer most of the time. If you're looking for something very relaxing as he plays just stories, that's a really good stream to check out. Kittykissz is the opposite, super high energy, and has been streaming quite often lately. Sith Lord Brits, I don't know exactly what she streams. I usually, whenever I jump on, she's streaming something different. Butterbargaming, when I've been jumping into his stream, he's been playing a lot of multiplayer content, and not necessarily a high level, which I really appreciated. I really enjoyed watching him go play with his low level players and friends too. AlexanderTheStandard is a newer player that I've checked out that I like, and Vulkk is on YouTube. Vulkk has a fan site at vulkk.com. Oh, I realized I forgot a blogger too, almost more of a fan site, and that is mmobits.com. She has if Vulkk.com has half the class guides, mmobits.com has the other half, and she also has a bunch of other miscellaneous guides that no one else has really covered, like some of the newer achievements and stuff. Hey, Alexander the Average! You're not Alexander the Standard. You are not the Alexander we were looking for. Raya, thank you so much for moderating. I'm so glad you're able to catch so much of the stream. Have a great night. Where's my little heart? I did it! I need to remember. There we go. Okay. Hi, Cameron. So that's not an entire list of streamers. In general, what I would recommend is what this is my list of people that I like for sure and would recommend. But you can just search SOTOR Twitch, and it'll get to the SOTOR directory, and that's so you can see who's actually actively online streaming SOTOR right now, and just check one out. If they're screaming at somebody and you don't like that, jump out. If you're screaming at somebody and you like that, keep watching. It's up to you who you want to watch, and every streamer is very different and has a very different personality that they're showing and how they like to present themselves on stream and what they like to stream too. Like some people are exclusively operations. Next up are videos, and sadly there's less people making videos now, and that's my what I like to make, so I'm sad. So go make some videos, people. There's room for you here. One of my favorite channels is XLetalis, where you can watch pretty much every cutscene in the game. Not every single one, but if you want to say, oh, what's the dark side version of this? Oh, what's this romance like? XLetalis probably has it, especially for newer stuff. They have a huge catalog of cutscenes. I think this is Cease. The streamer also runs a, yes, they also run a YouTube channel where you can go watch some PvP advice, and so does Noble, my friend Noble, who was supposed to join us but wasn't able to. Their favorite videos that I have up right now on Noble's YouTube channel is they have what is the best ranged class and what is the best melee class for PvP. Obviously those are opinional things, but I think they gave a really good rundown that I'm not really seeing in YouTube videos. Like, I want to hear more people talking about PvP for normies like me. It was a great rundown. But they're also covering a lot of ESO right now. SWTOR Snoopy has a really wide, crazy variety of different stuff, including lots of like solo challenges of doing group content. SWTOR Central, currently run by PeterTheSelkath, has a ton of different stuff too, like guides and stuff like that. SWTOR TV has a bunch of item previews and economy focused stuff. If you want that preview of a PTS item, probably the best place to check first. Vulkk on YouTube has a ton of gaming videos in general, lots of guides, lots of coverage, lots of news. And Boomy has all kinds of awesome news and opinion videos that you can watch. Boomy has a personality of a beard. He's got a lot going on. I definitely recommend listening to those if you want something other than just straight guides. All right. I think, did I miss anybody? I'm trying to think of so there's lots of communities online, but they're a little different than content creators. Like there's the SOTOR Reddit. There's #SOTOR Family on Twitter. There's the SOTOR Discord, which is open to everyone. It's at discord.gg/SOTOR. If I can post that in chat. Yeah, so you can join if that's something you're looking for. The official SOTOR forums, I don't even consider those, like, because they're only available to subscribers, so I don't actually recommend those pretty much ever. There's a really big SOTOR players group on Facebook. There's the #SOTOR Family, I guess hashtag, it's not really a group, on Instagram. So there are a ton of different ways that you can connect with other players. There's the, let me see. I gotta tell everybody about this every day. I don't even remember how to type anymore. I'm so tired. I'm sorry. Let me show my desktop real fast. So this is the SOTOR fan community. Oh, sorry. SOTORfancommunity.com/guilds, and this is an amazing site that I did the basic coding for it, but the amount of volunteers and players that submitted their guild and helped with it is like phenomenal. Like, I can't even count it at this point. I don't know. I think we have over 400 guilds listed. It might be closer to 500 at this point. I haven't checked recently, but I was mad BioWare wasn't creating a way for players to find a guild. Here, I'll put it. Can someone type SOTORfancommunity.com/guilds in chat for me? So I was mad BioWare wasn't putting a way in game or on the official website to find a guild. So I was like, screw you, BioWare, I'll make it myself. So it took me a while to code, but it's not that actually difficult of a project. But Basically, I wanted a really easy way for guilds to share their guild with the least amount of resistance possible. So I made it super easy so they can go edit and update and bump their guild. And I made it super easy for players to search. So if I was looking for a guild on Starforge, on Republic side, and what I really wanted to do was run roleplay or roleplay and operations, then it'll give me a list. I can even pick my time zone if I need to. Just a bunch of filters, and very easy for someone to add their guild. And we actually have like moderators and stuff like that, so if there's no spam and stuff like that. But yeah, I really like this guild. Thank you for posting the link, Droidsmith. I appreciate that. So please definitely share that site with other people. As far as I can tell, it's right now hopefully the de facto way to find a guild, because all the other ways sucked butt. Because there was Reddit, but you couldn't really filter it that much, and it wasn't used enough. There's the official SOTOR forums, but the freaking the servers kept getting merged, and it just kept getting messier and messier, and it was all mixed in with the the stuff to find a guild and the stuff to talk about stuff on the server were merged into one, so you couldn't just look at guilds. And there's not that many other ways to find stuff other than in-game. So I'm really happy this resource exists. So tell people about this if they're looking for a guild, because it seems to have helped a lot of people connect with guilds. And the guilds are kind of sorted by sort of by how active they are. If the one at the very bottom will be the one that no one has updated at all. Like you can see, last updated March 7, 2019. And then this one last updated June 7, 2020. So you're hopefully not going to find a dead guild that way. So that's the whole goal. Woohoo! Oh, there's a French guild on the top. That's pretty funny. Cool. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm glad Intisar, I'm glad it helped people find your little guild too. One of the things I was worried about is that somehow the bigger guilds would dominate just by saying, we have 1 million members, come join us. But I tried to make it very fair how they were presented, and I even had a super fair, I don't know if you guys could see them, there's little badges on the side, but they were based on how much effort you put into your listing, because to me that's a huge flag of goodness if you put effort into your listings wherever they were, about what that says about your guild and its organization and stuff like that. Yeah, if you want to recruit for your guild, please do go post it there. Have at her. Someone's playing. Okay, I think that's good. I think now's a good time to jump over and talk to Will and Marshall. Hi. Can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
Yeah, I see.
Hello.
Will, is your camera working?
Sorry, I was still listening to you, and it must be on a delay. Still listening to you on the other side.
Sorry. I can see. I'll show it so you guys in chat can see it real soon here. I'm guessing Will's camera is lit.
You don't see my camera?
No. Maybe it's still loading. Okay, we'll see if it goes. Y'all, I'm still.
I actually had to turn mine on, Will, on the bottom left on the Discord thing.
It's giving me the symbol that he has it turned on, but it's a loading.
Swtorista,
can you see mine?
How you doing?
Hi. Sorry, I'm trying to set up stream so they can see you too.
Oh, you're
You want me to turn off my camera and turn it back on?
That might be the way to do it, or just hang up video call and then rejoin it. Might work better. Oh, they're saying you're very loud. I'm sorry. I'll turn them down.
How's that?
Hey, there you go. Okay. So I know Marshall is quite loud. Marshall, can you say hi again?
Hello.
Too quiet. Say again, hi.
Hello.
Okay, chat, let me know if that last hello was too loud. And Will, can you say hi too?
Howdy, everybody.
You are also loud, sorry. Go ahead and say hi again a second time, Will.
Hello again.
One last time.
Hello, hello.
Okay, I think we are good, and I know I'm probably quieter than them. I'm sorry. Part of that's just the fact that I'm literally quieter. Like, I will talk like this if I had my choice. I have to scream for stream. Alright, so I've got you guys up in video chat so everybody can see you now. Say hi to everybody in chat. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Chad, I see some familiar names out there. It's good to see you guys.
You should. Some of them you met in person.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about how we're missing the community a lot today.
Yeah, I can imagine. Between playing less and then also being quarantined to boot.
Yeah, and missing Comic-Con. We were just talking about that, you know.
When was that supposed to be? It dropped off my radar when I knew it wasn't happening.
About a little over a month from now, so tail end of July. I know.
I'll be heading to San Diego to meet you guys. So let me introduce you guys. So I just went over all the content in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Basically, when it comes to content creators, you guys are still running the usual podcast. You're talking less about SWTOR because you're not playing it actively right now, but you're still talking a ton about pop culture. Last one was about Disney World and Disneyland that I loved because I'm also missing that right now. But you guys also have a lot of experience podcasting in general. Like right now, as far as I know, Marshall, you're running your own podcast about writing, right?
Yeah, I'm now producing 2 podcasts, so I don't have enough to do, I guess.
And Will, are you still running the? Did you start the Disney podcast?
It's not really a podcast right now. It's right now just doing daily social media posts about the history of Disney. Normally I do 4 major posts a day talking about the biggest thing that happened on that day, birthdays, deaths, and premieres. But now that I am officially out of work starting today...
I'm so sorry.
No, I was a teacher and the school year's over and I didn't get hired for next year. So what I'm doing is starting... beginning of July, actually it'll be June 29th, I'm going to be launching a whole bunch of new content for my Daily Dose of Disney. There'll be book clubs and viewing parties and giveaways and a whole bunch of stuff, and there'll be a big theme every month.
So Marshall and Will, do you want to both share those those projects in the Twitch chat if you have it open?
Yeah, I have it open. I'll put a link in the show notes or in the
There's
chat.
No show notes.
I
keep
live, saying show,
baby.
I said this the other day. I was sitting in a Zoom call with some other writing buddies, and I said show notes. I was like, oh my god, I've been podcasting for too long. No, I do it. It's called Just Keep Writing is the podcast I do. We have. I'll put a link to the Facebook page, and we don't have a website yet, but and then of course the usual podcast is what Will and I've had that show now for 6 years now, I think.
Yeah, it's been running a long time.
Yeah, and I just put it in the chat, and it's all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Daily Disney 1923.
And I'll put you guys the link to the. So if you want to look at least the Twitter while we're actually streaming, that's where I've been following this project because it's pretty cool. Post literally daily something that happened at Disney every day, and it sounds like you're going to be going more hardcore with it. But the one I'm talking about with you today is podcasting, something you've been doing forever. So we talked a little bit earlier about what is podcasting. Podcasting is basically a radio show pre-recorded that you can go and listen to, and people like it because it's mostly just pure audio. Some people record it with a video, but the point is that it's talking about something that they love. So in Marshall's case, that would be about writing, and in both of your cases, that would be about pop culture, which is all what the usual podcast is all about. Could you talk a little bit about how you got started into podcasting?
Do you want to start, Will? You like this one?
I love the story, but you start off with the whole Kevin Smith quote, so go ahead with that.
Yeah, so I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, and really, Will and I have been friends. Excuse me, excuse me. But we've been friends for 20 years now, and we've always talked about movies and stuff like that, and gaming and TV shows and everything else. And one of the things Kevin Smith always says is, if you get to sit down with your friends and record a podcast, just talk to your friends, and content will come from it. And that is just something he and I have always done. And so we decided one day to just start it up. And it like I said, we've been in a community with you as far as SWTOR goes for so many years now. And so that was always part of the show. And then we just, we wrapped in pop culture and gaming and everything else along with it. And I'm going to let Will tell the why we call it the usual podcast, why it's not so obviously just SWTOR, and why we kept it kind of general. But I love podcasting. It's something actually I teach now. I've switched over from teaching English at the high school level to actually doing digital media. So I'm actually teaching kids how to create content and podcasting and video content and stuff like that. And it's a ton of fun, and which is why I started the second show. I'm a writer as well, and so another buddy in my writing community wanted to start a show, and I said, all right, let's do it. So like I said, didn't have enough to do, but I'll let Will take it away as far as why we call the show the usual podcast. But it's just something I really love doing, and sitting down and talking with this guy every couple weeks is okay.
Yeah, it's just okay. Yeah, well, when we met, we were actually both working in a restaurant, and we both ended up working in the bar scene. And we worked in a small college town, small, 50,000 people, but they had about 20 bars. And so we had friends that worked at most of the bars. And there's one day, just directly after a breakup of Marshall's, he showed up at my door about, 9 o'clock in the morning and said, we're drinking. And I'm like, all right. And so I got out of bed. We walked downtown because we knew we wouldn't be driving it all that day. And we just started going to every single bar we knew during their happy hours. And it was just an entire day starting at like 11 a.m. We went to a lunch happy hour. We went and saw Dude, Where's My Car partway through the day.
How does this relate to podcasting? I know it does. That's a trick question.
Well, the funny thing is we went around to every single happy hour and picked up people that were getting off work at the time. So by the end of the night, it was about 3 a.m. and we had people from almost every bar following us around.
So you made your own pub crawl? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Essentially, yeah.
And but the thing is that every bar we went to, we always had a different usual drink. So like we went to one happy hour, we always had a 22-ounce Bud. We go to another one, it was a Surfer on Acid with a rum and Coke. And we went to another one and it was a shot of tequila. It just really depended on the bar. And so then we ended up kind of coming up with the concept for a short story called Happy Hours, where it was kind of in the swingers theme, where it just followed us on a night. But it just basically boiled down to the fact that it was kind of cool that we all knew people at all these different bars that all had different concepts and vibes. And we were kind of the people that brought it all together, which is kind of like the concept of our podcast, where it's like we all have different fandoms and everything, and we kind of just bring it all together into one umbrella.
And that's how you enter podcasting, by heavy drinking. Just joking. So you've been keeping up.
And you have your usual.
Yeah, so part of their podcast is that at the beginning, they usually discuss what frosty beverage they're drinking right now before jumping straight into the pop culture of the day. So I wanted to talk about more about getting into podcasting as a new player. Can you play podcasting? Is that the right term? As a new podcaster, as someone, because unlike video editing, which requires so many different things, podcasting has a lot lower barrier to entry to at least start. You need a microphone, your buddy needs a microphone, or you can do it solo, and you need some free audio editing software, and you've got this show on the road. So if you wanted to give some advice for someone who wanted to try their hand at podcasting, where should they start?
So this is something that I try to be as clear as I can with my students as well. Have a very clear plan and where you want to go with it to start with. For example, having a semblance of a script. So there's so many podcasts out there right now. So really what happens is somebody tune into something new. Within a few seconds, you really need to know what that show's about, who the people are, and what's going to be happening during the show, right? And if you lose them that quickly, then that's you're going to lose them. There's so many podcasts out there. So know what you plan to talk about. Keep it consistent. That's the hardest part about podcasting. And that's something I've always told everybody that wants to start a podcast is if you're not consistent, there's so many other shows out there. And we've been far from consistent in the last couple of years, but we've been doing this a really long time at this point now too. So, but just sitting down with your friends, having a microphone, the tech is pretty simple. The editing part, depending on how heavily you want to edit, can get kind of complicated, but there's videos and YouTube videos for all this kind of stuff now though too. So, but being very clear up front, and having a clear plan, and keeping it, I'd have to say at this point on the shorter side for sure.
One big thing is you don't have to have perfect tech to begin with. I mean, if you go, we got lucky that, we were able to get a good fan base right off the bat. But when we started, I was recording with iPhone headphones from an RV in the middle of an fraternity house parking lot.
And that was enough. Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was enough, but it was brutal as far as I'm
concerned. Don't get me wrong,
editing.
it was brutal,
but what you're saying is you don't need
start...
that $300 microphone to start, right?
No, definitely not.
I mean, it just every year, after we went to Comic-Con and made a little scratch and stuff and got some donations, and we were able to, upgrade our microphones and then upgrade our our soundboard and then get better video and audio software and stuff like that. And so luckily Marshall's able to take that all in hand, and he's just a, kick-ass dude in that respect. But yeah, you just upgrade your stuff as you go along, and you'll eventually get there.
So one of the things I wanted to ask was, so how do you decide how you're going to structure your podcast? For example, do you have to write a little script? Do you read it off? Do you write little bullet notes? Do you just have a list of 3 topics and you just go from there? Or is it different for everybody? Is what you do different from what you've heard other podcasters do?
It really depends on the type of show you're trying to do, but I would suggest, especially if you're starting out, have a script just so that you stay on point. To start with, having a tagline in the front, something that you're going to say every episode, something that the listeners will expect you to say every episode, that kind of thing. I think is really helpful.
And that goes back to your consistency, right? Both consistency of doing it every week as well as the structure within the episode.
Exactly, because people know, and if you change it, you got to tell people that you're changing things too. If you change it, it's like a bad TV show. If a TV show takes a left turn somewhere and you don't see it coming and you don't understand why the writers are doing whatever they're doing or whatever, it becomes kind of chaotic and people will stop listening. I mean, like I say, there's a lot of competition in podcasting now, obviously. But definitely have a script, at least what I do is I set up an outline to start with. And I have links to all the stuff that I want to talk about. And we kind of build that together, me and Will. And then we'll click on links and pull things from the articles as we're talking. So we're working on multiple screens and that kind of thing. And we've live streamed our podcast now for the last several years. And that's helpful too, just so that especially if people are sitting around watching, if it's not live, it's a lot easier because you can edit on the back end, but you want to keep it.
You get that instant feedback from everybody. Yeah.
You want to keep it going, and the chat's going to, you're going to lose the chat in a second if you don't know what you're talking about, if there's a lot of dead air, that kind of thing. So definitely a script would be helpful. And talking about where people can find you really briefly at the front end of the show if possible, but definitely at the back end, because if they listen all the way to the end, you want to tell them how to keep, if you have a Discord channel, if you have a website, if you have Twitter handles, stuff like that, you want to keep people coming back to your content and your stuff.
Yeah, and then if you change your style, it's really, because we both have, for the largest time of us podcasting, we've both worked in education, so we have highs and lows. When you have more time we can devote to it, obviously we can devote more time during the summer. So there was a time 4 or 5 years ago when we were able to do multiple shows a week and basically expand our content. But over the last couple months, we've really had to shrink down our shows because we can't do hour and a half long shows starting at 9:30 at night anymore, and we just don't have a chance to do it every single week anymore. So it's shrunk down to half hour, 45 minutes, and we've got to pick and choose the content we service.
Really rolling with the punches. So it's good to, even though consistency is important, don't freak out about the fact that you won't be able to deliver it every single week for the next 6 years.
Yeah, and the other thing is if you miss a week, I didn't record my other show last week like we were supposed to, and we just put out on our Discord channel and said there's just not going to be a show this week. We just couldn't do it. There's a lot going on, and it's just not going to happen, but we'll record next week, and the people that are fans of you will keep coming back. It's the folks that, maybe just tuned into that last show and then you don't have a show for a couple of months or a month or so. That's who you're going to lose. So, yeah.
And the biggest thing is to develop a loyal fan base, because actually we did 2 shows last month, which was a lot for us over the last year, and but we only charged for one on our Patreon page. And I actually had a fan message me over Facebook Messenger and saying, hey, I only got charged for one podcast and you guys did 2 great shows. How do I pay you for the second one? I'm like, no, we gave you guys
so nice.
And I was like, no, we did that for you as a gift because we know that we have been doing consistently and we want to give you guys some extra content. And so it turned into a 2-hour chat over Facebook Messenger of content and stuff like that, and what she appreciated and stuff. So it was pretty fantastic.
It's really cool. So one thing I hear a lot when people getting into videos, and I know it must apply to podcasting as well, is that, oh my god, I recorded my voice for the first time. It is the worst thing I have ever heard in my life. I hope you guys can see my face right now because I've got the biggest, whitest, scariest eyes I've ever had in my life. So what do you say to people who feel that way, which is literally everyone? I've never heard a single person say they like it, and the amount of comments I've said people say I hate my voice are huge. And how can you get better at speaking? Like, how can you start avoiding those or like, you know, this and that, and you know, talking like you actually know what you're talking about? Because you may have a lot to share, but it can be very hard to share it if you aren't speaking well.
A couple things on that. One, especially if your show's not live, be a meticulous editor. If you're having a hard time with the or there's dead time, or you're having the conversation's not going the way you want, cut it out, shrink it out, you know, get rid of it. The other thing is, I hear this from my students all the time. I hate my voice, Mr. Carr. I really don't want to do it. I just can't listen to myself. And
so you probably hear that like 24/7. I'm sorry.
I hear it. I hear it all the time. No, and my advice, though, honestly, my advice is you literally just get used to it. I mean, especially if you're doing the editing, and if depending on what you know, mixer or whatever you're using, if you're listening to yourself as you record, I found that's really helpful as well. It's weird at first.
Yes, but I've had the same experience. Like, it's at to the point that I actually like listening to my own voice now because I have to hear it all the time, and because I've practiced now, it's at a point that I really like it. And when I first started, it was the same thing. Oh my god, I sound like I'm like 14 years old. No one's gonna want to listen to me. I'm too high pitched. Will, did you have that experience when you first started podcasting? Were you like, oh, what is this?
For me, it actually has been a lifelong thing because I actually had to go to a speech therapist when I was in elementary school because I still have a list with my S's and Z's and I practice them every day. But the thing is, you just have to realize is, you know, people talk to you every day and they're not walking away at the sound of your voice. So just let them deal with it. Be comfortable in your own voice, just like you got to be comfortable in your own skin. And, you know, your fandom is going to cover any flaws that you feel, any perceived flaws you feel you might have. But
also, if you're the one doing the editing, there's no way around it. If you have to listen to the entire show back over and over and go back and forth, at least an
hour of audio of your own voice. Can you imagine how many times I have to listen to my own voice making my videos? Like, I have probably oh my god, like probably listened to like, how much footage would I have? I probably listened to like hundreds of hours of my own voice.
Right, and people ask all the time, they're like, how long does it take you to edit things and stuff like that? And it's like, well, it kind of depends on the flow of the show, of course, but you are listening back to parts over and over because something is not right, or re-listening to something, or that. I mean, over time, you will eventually just get used to it. And then you start to like your own voice. Like you said, Swtorista, it's eventually just kind of vibing with yourself. It's kind of good.
That's one of the perks about actually not being the editor and just being the talent. That I don't have to deal with it on the editing side of it.
Yeah, he doesn't do the editing.
I'm done recording. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go off and go watch TV now. Later.
All right, I've got a few questions from chat now that I've asked the major ones that I wanted to know. So one of our players wants to know, so I don't know how much you guys have to talk about this, but they want to know about solo podcasting. As I mentioned earlier, one of our SOTOR podcasters is purely a solo podcaster, so it obviously is something you can do. Is that something either of you have any experience with?
I don't necessarily. I've thought about it, and I know Will has as well. I do listen to some solo podcasters. I listen to a lot of podcasts. So my suggestion for if you're thinking about doing this, find whatever genre podcast you're interested in doing. Go and find a solo podcaster, because there's got to be at least a few solo podcaster that is doing it, and see how they manage it. It's not easy because there's no back and forth. So it's going to be more scripted, more on point, and it's going to be more heavily edited, I think, depending on what content you're putting out. But I mean, solo podcasts are totally fine, and I really like them. It just kind of depends on a number of factors, the type of show. Like I said, I would definitely go out and find other folks doing podcasts that in your genre for sure that you're interested in.
Yeah, as for me, one of the big things that Marshall and I had going for us when we started ours is that by the time we started podcasting, we had already known each other for 13 years. And so we had this natural banter going back and forth because basically it was we were basically just started recording the pop culture debates we were having already. So we already had that banter, and that's what we always heard from our fan base. Is the best thing about us was that we have these inside jokes and stuff that we would make fun of each other all the time about. Now, as for me, the Daily Disney stuff that I'm going to be starting more content on next month is it's going to be definitely more solo driven, but I definitely plan on having more guests on because that's one way you can get around it, because you do have to have that back and forth, and whether it's back and forth to content or back and forth to guests, you just can't be the one talking for 30 straight minutes, or else you're just going to drive people away. So you can definitely treat it like something like Ralph Garman on his the Ralph Report, where he has like a sidekick, right? You can get a sidekick going on, or before he had a sidekick, he was much heavier into bits and content like that, where it's like, here's a lot of interviews. All right, so like with my Daily Disney stuff, I'm going to be focusing on next month is that it's like, okay, well, here's the verse for the day, and here's the deaths for the day, and this is the stuff that we're focusing on, and it'll be a daily sort of content thing, but you're giving them stuff that's more than just the sound of your voice.
And my suggestion too, if you're going to do a solo one, is to have people on periodically, have an interview, have someone on that can contribute to the content that you're trying to put out there. That's another suggestion.
Absolutely.
For sure.
For me, for solo podcasting, one of the things that I look for when watching them is that I expect someone, when they're speaking solo, to be a lot more well-spoken, more clearly spoken, better presented info, versus when two people are talking like we're all talking right now. I'm a lot more forgiving because you're having like a natural conversation. You obviously got to up your game from when you're mumbling in real life or whatever, but if you're speaking alone, you got to be speaking really, really well to me, versus if it's just a back and forth, you can have a little more natural dialogue. I don't mind that as much. Like if you throw an in there, I'm going to be a lot more forgiving than if you do it solo. I want none, zero, zip, zilch. So next question, if you guys want to
really quick, sorry to interrupt here, the biggest thing when you're solo podcasting is to be heavily scripted without sounding like you're heavily scripted.
Hi, that's my life, making videos. So if you guys want to ask questions about creating podcasting or anything in similar media, recording your voice or recording your thoughts in any way, this could be doing it solo too, like a journal if you wanted. Someone wanted to ask, what is your favorite thing about podcasting?
Being able to talk with my friend whenever we do it. I mean, he's my best friend for 20 years, and honestly, especially with the shelter in place going on, we literally live about a mile apart from each other, and we never see each other. So whenever we get to podcast, it's being able to see the smile on my best friend's face, and being able to talk and chat and have fun.
And that's the same thing I tell my students. It is sitting down and talking with your friends. It's the best part. It's so much fun. You get to laugh. You get to debate over stupid Star Wars stuff. Whatever content you're trying to create, it's just something you get to have a conversation about with your buddy. That's the best part. Eventually you start liking the sound of your own voice, of course, and that kind of thing. And you might go on and on and on. But and the folks that you meet, the other part for me, I know especially with my new podcast that I'm doing, Just Keep Writing, we've created a small writing community around it, and a Discord channel, and you get to make these connections with folks that I don't know, it's weird to say like you have fans, but it doesn't really become fans. It's more just that's your community. Those are the people that you are doing the show for.
They start off fans and they wind up becoming friends once you actually talk to them. Yeah, exactly.
And we know this, obviously. We've met up for the last few years, of course, the three of us and some other friends in this community, and it's been an amazing time. And so yeah, obviously sitting down with your friends, but also meeting some amazing people. That's the best part. I did see someone in chat say that editing's kind of a deal breaker. It doesn't have to be, and I'm sorry if I'm detouring off the other part for a second, but the editing doesn't have to be a deal breaker. There's some free software I still use Audacity. I've dabbled with other stuff, but Audacity, I keybind stuff. It's really a lot quicker now. And
I'm also using the same software. I go through a similar process for my videos.
Yeah, and it's not terrible, and it's free. It's easy to use, and it does take a little learning, but there's tons of videos and stuff out there. It doesn't have to be a deal breaker. My suggestion would be to record something and then just mess with it, move stuff around, see how it sounds, that kind of thing. And it doesn't have to be a deal breaker.
It's pretty I find it tedious, but mostly because it's one step of like my 8-step process of having to make videos. I'm like, I wish this would just magically edit itself so I could freaking make the video already. But the actual act of editing is pretty soothing, because it's quite repetitive. You're mostly just like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm looking for things that I need to cut out, like my mouse clicks a lot of the time to make sure that the audio is cleaner, stuff like that. And that's just, you have to just go through section by section and just do it. It's not difficult, it's just time consuming. And then you get to take the fun part of actually talking together and put that online so other people can listen to it. But without that editing step in between, it's just a live stream. It's not a podcast at that point.
Yeah, and I do listen to some shows that don't do much editing at all, and I mean they're very, very good, and it's fine, and it can be done. But I do the same thing when I make a editing pass, mostly when I'm looking at, because everything is remote recording now with all my co-hosts and guests and whatever, and it's somebody's going to pick up a soda and jingle the ice in the glass or something that I'm gonna have to cut out, or in silence or something like that. Those are the kind of things I'm looking for. The conversation usually flows pretty good, or you just cut out the dead air and move on, and it's not too bad.
I started laughing so hard because I was trying to think out what are the things that I have to edit out of my audio. Me accidentally kicking the desk, stuff like that, and Mr. Swtorista singing in the background, that comes up a lot.
My co-host on my other show, he drinks soda, and there's always something. There's ice jingling, there's something, or like a kid will run into the room or something like that, or a dog will run through the room, and your audience is fairly forgiving, but at the same time, if you can cut it out, definitely cut it out.
Definitely better. So Will, you're on the other side of things. You just have to show up and talk and organize it. I assume you put like get the list of topics and stuff together with Marshall together. What are some of the things that Marshall has told you to stop? Like, stop it. I'm the one editing this and I have to deal with this. Can you please stop this? So what are some of the things that someone should avoid from your being yelled at in the past?
I can't wait to hear his answer.
I'm perfect, so there's no way.
Holiday, guys. We're done the stream.
No, it really kind of depends on situation too. So when we're recording in the same room, we actually record in Marshall's office, which you can see behind him. And if you look to, well, you can't see to his right, but his right, there's a second desk, and that's usually where I sit. But his seat is the secondary seat is very creaky, and I'm a large man. I mean, I'm not going to get any way around it. I'm 6 foot plus, 350 plus, and so because of back use and everything, I've got to definitely move around quite a bit, and so that creaky chair is not the easiest thing for him to edit out. So that is one thing.
You have to think about all these other stupid things that you wouldn't even think of when you're going to the podcast. You're like, okay, I need to have a microphone. I need to not have like, I don't know, a giant fan in the background. And then you're like, oh crap, I'm going like this all day. And like, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And you're creaking your chair. You're not even like actively doing anything, but you're making these noises. How do you fix that?
Or it's also mic technique too, something that we've been working on for a long time, and I work on with all my co-hosts. It's like, when you're too close to the mic, when you're too far away from the mic, like all that becomes really frustrating, and if you're breathing right into the microphone, I used to give Will a lot of crap for that when we had mics that wouldn't, lessen some of that, I should say.
Yeah, so sometimes it's just getting better equipment, and honestly, since we've gone with these mics we've had for the last few years, it's been a lot easier for him. But one thing is when you're doing remotely, and this is something people are learning a lot now because people are having to have Zoom meetings for their work quite frequently, is you are starting to recognize what you're doing on camera and on mic. So for example, me, since I'm in my own place, I have my cat. And my cat loves attention sometimes, especially when I'm podcasting.
What's that? Do you think that was on the original list of things you need to think about? Kitty coming to say hi?
No, and most of the time it's not. He doesn't get on camera, he doesn't get near the mic, but I can't tell you. I mean, honestly, it's happened like twice in the last 3 minutes where he'll all of a sudden show up between my legs and get claws into my thighs, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? And you've got to make sure you don't react, because you might like react where you're like shooing him away, but even though you've got claws in your skin, you've got to not react on mic, or else it's going to definitely show up.
And if you're live streaming, like I said, we do stream the usual for the most part, and it's like we're trying, we really are. But can I answer a question in the chat? It's actually SWTOR related.
I was going to bring that up next, so I'm just going in order of what chat's asking.
All right, no worries.
So this player asked, have you had heated debates about the latest Star Wars movies with people? I'm going to expand that. Have you ever had anyone like yell at you over communications in some way or another about an opinion you had on the show?
Not yes and no. I mean, I do know that the dissenting opinions about the last Star Wars movies are out there, and I get that. Our community is fairly positive. But you know, we've had debates on our show. In fact, the last episode we did when we had Nick and Will on, we talked about, you know, the last couple Star Wars movies for quite a while. Other Will, there was 2 Wills on the episode. But yeah, I mean, I don't have people coming at me and saying like my opinion is the worst thing they've ever heard, that kind of thing. Because honestly, I don't care that much. Like, I podcast just to talk to my friends and to see what they think. And if somebody needs to be that, you know, up in arms about a Star Wars movie, then I mean, I'm a fan, but also like I also know it's a movie, so I kind of just move on. So that's my answer for that. I got a lot more flack actually being a blogger early SWTOR days, when I worked for Tor Wars. Because I wasn't a max level player within like 2 days, and I would get people on their chats coming at me like, this is the worst thing, you're not even level 50, blah. That was back in the day. You're not even level 50 yet, and all this stuff. And it's just like, I'm just playing the game and writing about it. You gotta relax, you know.
Will, have you ever experienced that, and are you worried about experiencing it with this big project that you're opening up soon here?
You know, it's really funny because there are some people that absolutely hate Disney, which is mind-blowing to me. But of course, there's definitely not a lot of people that love it as much as I do as well. So all you can do is, when you're a fan like this, all you can do is put it out in the world, and people are going to take it how they're going to take it. As long as you're putting it out with positive energy and not deriding anybody else's fandom, I don't think, you know, you're just going to have to deal with what comes at you and take pride in what you do. And that's the only way around it.
Basically, we don't engage the trolls too much, Swtorista is what we're really trying to say.
You're doing it wrong, man.
I know, right?
So another player asks, it's off topic, but not a problem. I know you guys aren't playing as much right now, but what is your favorite class in Star Wars: The Old Republic?
Well, it's funny, we have been playing, just not. I haven't been raiding, and I haven't been as active as mostly. But Will's been playing a lot more lately. He'll talk about that in a minute, probably. But I have been. The Sith Inquisitor is still my favorite class. That was my first one, the Sith Assassin. I still play that character, and I've played all the content since day one before, since beta days. I mean, I've been playing this game forever, and I love the game. And the Sith Assassin is by far my favorite. There's something about double-bladed lightsaber and lightning that just speaks to me.
Yeah, I love it. That's
and doing cool kick flips and stuff.
How about you, Will?
You know, when I was in beta, I started with the bounty hunter just because the bounty hunter was always kind of a cool thing for me. But my main is a squishy sniper, and it's a female at that, and it's been my main for 7 years now, and it's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. I like doing that just because I like the fact that it's like the only main, it's the only main class story that isn't actually featured heavily as a main character in the original saga. So yeah, you kind of get to play more in your head with a little bit with that. But my favorite relationship is I'm a Mako diehard. I love my bounty. Whenever I want to get a little SWTOR love going on, I just love going over to my bounty hunter and just hanging out with Mako for a bit.
A lot of players were saying how much they love Mako earlier in the stream, so you're not alone in being a Mako fan. I think this is a good place to start wrapping it up. Did you guys want to share anything else about podcasting before I let you go?
My only advice is, honestly, if you're gonna do it, do the research. Know that it does cost a little bit of money, not a ton, but it does cost a little bit of money to post shows and keep it consistent. And be as consistent as you can be. And as communicative as you can with your community, and build that community and have fun with it. It doesn't matter the numbers. don't get discouraged by the numbers. Please don't, because it's going to be sad. There's so many podcasts out there, but have fun with it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Just and reward your audience however you can. I mean, not necessarily saying give them stuff, but reward them with content. Reward them with, energy. Reward them with, everything you can. I mean, if you can give them prizes, fantastic. That's cool stuff. But I mean, talking about my Disney stuff, my Patreon page for my Disney page has been up for a little over a year now, and to be honest, I have one patron right now. It's awesome. He donates $10 a month, and honestly, it's just kind of built up. And so whenever I give away prizes, he gets them because he's the only patron right now. But he's actually gotten like a set of the original Lion King trading cards from 1994, and a set of the Pocahontas trading cards from 1995. So he gets these sort of things. I give away like pins occasionally and stuff. So it's fantastic. But again, just reward your audience with whatever they are asking for, and listen to your audience. Don't just ignore them, and just don't take them for granted. You've got to listen to them and find out what they want.
Thank you so much for being on the show, guys, especially so last minute. I was like, oh, you know who I want to talk about podcasts, the guys who invited all the podcasts in San Diego. Thank you so much. So once again, Darth Pops on the left here, that is Marshall, and in the middle here is Will Griggs, and they're both on the usual podcasts, as well as Darth Pops is running, I can't remember what the writing podcast is called.
It's called Just Keep Writing.
Just Keep Writing. So if you want to be writing, especially like novels and stuff like that, that's what you want to check out. And if you are a Disney lover like I am, Will's project is what you want to check out on social media right now. So thank you so much, guys. I'm going to hang up the call now.
Thanks for having us. It was awesome seeing you again.
Bye.
Thank you.